It was supposed to be an easy gig. When I first took the night security job at Giovanni's Pizzeria, it sounded almost too good to be true. $22 an hour, overnight shifts, no customers, no real action. Just monitor a few security cameras, make a round or two, and stay awake. Perfect for someone like me who needed something low stress after, well, a rough few months. The place had been around forever. Old brick building, neon sign that buzzed louder than it glowed, and a smell of burnt cheese permanently baked into the walls. Even during the day, Giovanni's looked a little tired. At night, it was downright eerie. The kind of dark that feels thick, like it's pressing against the windows, trying to seep inside. On my first night, Tony, the guy training me, gave me a quick tour. "You'll be fine, man. Just watch camera 3, the kitchen. Sometimes the motion detector acts up," he said with a wink. "Nothing serious. Rats, probably." He left around midnight, leaving me alone with a set of jangling keys, a crackling radio, and a grainy black and white security system. 6 cameras. 1 on the front counter. 1 in the dining area. 1 in the kitchen. 1 by the back alley door. 1 down the hallway to the bathrooms. And 1, strangely, aimed right at a dusty old arcade machine by the entrance. "Don't worry about the machine," Tony had said, almost too quickly. "It's busted." The hours crawled by. Midnight turned to 1 a.m., then 2. Nothing. The occasional flicker of a light bulb. Maybe a chair creaking as it settled. I kept telling myself it was just the building settling. Old places made noise. Still, there was a weird tension in the air. Like the place was waiting for something. And right around 2:47 a.m., while I was sipping a flat Diet Coke, camera 3, the kitchen feed, glitched. The screen stuttered, then went dark for a second. When it came back on, the swinging kitchen door was moving. Just a little. Swaying back and forth, like someone had just walked through it. But there was no one there. I leaned closer, squinting at the screen. The kitchen was empty. Empty stainless steel counters. Empty prep tables. Empty walk-in fridge door cracked open just a hair, but otherwise, nothing. The door kept moving, though. Not slowing down. If anything, swinging wider. I swallowed hard. I told myself it was the AC kicking on. A draft. Something explainable. But then the motion detector in the kitchen went off. A loud ping. That echoed through the tiny security office. And a tiny message popped up in red letters on the monitor. Motion detected kitchen. 2:48 a.m. My gut clenched. Because this time, I knew I hadn't imagined it. On the feed, something had shifted the pile of dough trays stacked by the prep table. One was now lying sideways on the floor. And I still couldn't see anyone. I sat there for a good 30 seconds, heart hammering against my ribs, staring at the screen. The dough tray was still lying on its side. Still no one visible. Still that door, swinging wider and wider, as if inviting someone, or something, to step through. I knew I should probably check it out. That's what I was being paid for, right? But man, every part of me screamed to stay put. To pretend I didn't see anything. To ride out the shift. The radio crackled to life on the desk beside me, making me jump out of my skin. It was Tony's voice, faint and staticky. "Everything good, rookie?" I grabbed the receiver, trying to sound casual. "Yeah. Kitchen motion alarm went off, but it's probably nothing. I'll go look." Silence on the other end. A little too long. Then, "Just be careful, alright?" Click. Dead air. I grabbed the heavy flashlight from under the desk, clipped the ring of keys to my belt, and stepped out into the hallway. The main dining area was dark, lit only by the pale green exit signs. Shadows from the overturned chairs, stacked on tables after closing, stretched across the floor, looking almost like figures hunched in prayer. The kitchen door was still swinging when I reached it. I paused, listening. Nothing. No scurrying rats. No creaky floorboards. Just the low electric hum of the freezers and a faint smell of yeast and old grease. I pushed through. The flashlight beam cut across the kitchen in jerky swipes. There was the prep table. There was the pile of dough trays, with one knocked clean onto the floor, just like I saw on the monitor. I bent down, picked it up, stacked it back on the pile. Probably just gravity. Maybe the floor sloped weird. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been there. Watching. I turned toward the walk-in fridge. The door was open wider now. It creaked softly as it moved, and inside was just a dark rectangle of deeper blackness. I flashed my light in. Shiny shelves, tubs of sauce, racks of pepperoni, all just sitting there. I took a step closer. Then froze. On the inside of the walk-in door, scratched deep into the metal, were 4 words. "Don't let them out." I backed up slowly, my scalp prickling so hard it hurt. Nobody had mentioned that. Tony sure as hell didn't say anything about a damn message carved into the fridge. I spun on my heel, heading back toward the dining area, deciding right then and there I'd just camp in the office till morning. As I reached the kitchen door, something caught the corner of my eye. Over by the dusty arcade machine, the one Tony said was broken. The screen was flickering. It shouldn't have had power. I was sure it had been dark when I came in. But now, under the dim emergency lighting, I could see it stuttering through some kind of pixelated text. I squinted. It was hard to read, but the letters slowly resolved into something clear, chilling, and impossibly directed at me. "Stay out of the freezer." I stood frozen in the middle of the kitchen, the beam of my flashlight trembling just slightly in my hand. That arcade machine, it couldn't be working. Half its buttons were missing, and there were spiderwebs behind the cracked screen. I had seen it with my own eyes when Tony showed me around earlier. But now, it was humming faintly, the screen blinking in slow, sickly pulses of green. "Stay out of the freezer. Stay out of the freezer." Over and over. Like a warning. Or a threat. My rational brain fought to catch up. Maybe Tony was messing with me? Some hazing ritual for the new guy? He had said something about Camera 3 acting up. But this was different. I felt a cold gust of air snake past my legs. Turned around. The walk-in fridge door was now wide open. The smell hit me first. It wasn't just the sharp tang of cold produce anymore. It was rot. The kind of smell that clings to the back of your throat, thick and sweet and utterly wrong. My flashlight flicked, just a brief stutter, and when it came back, I could have sworn I saw something move inside the fridge. A hunched, lurching shape. No, not just 1. 2. Nope. Hell no. I backed into the dining area, bumping into a table hard enough to knock a chair clattering to the ground. The noise echoed like a gunshot. Back in the office, I slammed the door shut behind me, fumbling with the lock. My breathing was ragged. My hands shook as I turned all the monitors on at once, desperate to see the feeds. Kitchen, empty. Dining area, still. Hallway, fine. But the arcade machine, camera 1, now showed something new. The screen wasn't just flashing text anymore. It was showing a video feed. A live feed. Of the inside of the walk-in fridge. Except it wasn't empty. 2 figures stood just inside the doorway, their outlines shuddering with static distortion. They were grotesque caricatures of people, tall, twitching at the joints, heads lolling unnaturally from side to side. Their faces were wrong. Blurry. Too wide at the mouths, too small at the eyes. And even through the glitching feed I could see. They were looking directly at the camera. Directly at me. The radio on the desk crackled again, making me flinch. But it wasn't Tony this time. It was a voice I didn't recognize, whispering just above the static. "Don't open the door. No matter what you hear." I stared at the walk-in fridge feed, my mouth dry as dust. Because the 2 figures? They were walking. Slowly. Steadily. Toward the kitchen exit. Toward me. The air inside the security office felt thick, like breathing through wet cloth. I sat frozen, staring at the grainy monitors, watching those 2 distorted figures shuffle out of the kitchen, into the dining area, moving with jerky, unnatural steps. The worst part wasn't how they moved. It was how slowly they moved. Like they had all the time in the world. Like they were savoring every second it took to reach me. The radio on the desk hissed again, but no words came through, just a low, almost imperceptible sound, like someone breathing against the speaker. I killed the volume and tried to think. The office door was solid, thick wood, with a simple bolt lock. It had no window. No way to see out. If I stayed quiet, maybe they'd pass by. Maybe this was still some twisted prank. Bang! A loud thud hit the door behind me. I nearly jumped out of my skin, spinning around so fast my chair toppled over. Another bang, heavier this time. Like someone ramming the door with their shoulder. I clutched the flashlight like a club, hard hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. From the other side of the door, a voice called out. "Hey, it's Tony! Open up, man! Forgot to tell you something." The voice was off. Syrupy and wrong, like someone trying too hard to sound casual. I didn't move. Didn't say a word. Bang. Bang. "Come on, rookie. Open the door. Don't be rude." Another thud. This time, I saw the door frame shudder. I reached for my phone, intending to call for help, only to find it dead. Not just low battery, completely dead. Screen black. Won't turn on. I grabbed the radio again, switched channels, desperate for a signal. Static. 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 Until one voice, faint through the fuzz. "Not Tony. Stay put." I dropped the radio like it burned. Outside the door, the voice continued, but it was slipping, losing whatever fake tone it was trying to maintain. "Open the door. Open the door. Open the door." Each repetition got louder, deeper, more inhuman. And underneath it, I could hear something else. The wet, dragging scrape of nails or claws across the wood. The lock rattled violently. The bolt strained against the frame. Then, just as sudden as it started, it stopped. Silence. Dead, heavy silence. I crouched there for what felt like an hour, heart thudding in my ears, barely breathing. Then, through the stillness, I heard the faintest sound. A soft, deliberate knock. Tap, tap, tap. And a new voice, almost childlike, whispering. "It's so cold out here. Let us in." I didn't move. Not when the soft knocking turned into louder pounding. Not when the childlike voice broke into sobs, begging me to open the door. I stayed huddled in the corner of the security office, flashlight aimed at the door like it could actually protect me. Then, the pounding stopped. The crying stopped. Another stretch of silence. I forced myself to stand. My legs were shaky, but I needed to see. I clicked through the cameras again, and almost dropped the monitor. Because the dining room? The kitchen? The hallways? All empty. No figures. No movement. It was like they had vanished. My breath was just starting to slow when the arcade machine, that busted old cabinet on camera 1, chirped. A bright, happy chime that didn't fit the dead, stale air of the pizzeria at all. I flicked over to the feed. The screen wasn't glitching anymore. It was displaying a menu now. A simple question in blinking blue pixel text. "Player 1, ready to begin? Y/N." And underneath, in smaller text. "Level, the freezer." My stomach twisted. The longer I stared at it, the more wrong it felt. Like if I didn't respond, something would come through the screen and drag me into it. Then something insane crossed my mind. Maybe if I played, I could reset whatever this nightmare was. Maybe that's why they left. Maybe the game was the real control room here. I don't know what possessed me, but I ran, bolted from the office, across the dining room, heart jackhammering against my ribs. I skidded to a stop in front of the arcade machine. It looked impossibly new up close now. No dust, no cracks, no missing buttons. Just a blinking green start button waiting for me. I slammed my palm against it without thinking. The screen flickered. The chimes turned dark, warping, twisting into a low, distorted growl. And then, the screen showed a live feed of the pizzeria, but something was different. Instead of the chairs stacked neatly on tables, the dining area was trashed, tables overturned, slices of old, moldy pizza stuck to the walls, and deep, black scratches gouged into the floor. And standing by the counter, staring right at the screen, at me, was someone I knew. It was me. Same uniform. Same beat-up sneakers. Same look of terror frozen on my face. I stumbled back from the machine, heart slamming against my ribs so hard I thought I might pass out. The arcade cabinet chimed again, displaying new text. Player 2, welcome. And right then, the lights throughout Giovanni's cut out, a full, heavy clunk, plunging me into total darkness. Except for the arcade screen, which now read, Player 2, escape. Timer start 5 o'clock minutes. And beneath that, failure equals stay forever. I heard a slow, deliberate scraping sound behind me, something big, something heavy, dragging itself across the floor. And then, just at the edge of my hearing, a deep, whispery voice. Your turn now. The timer on the arcade machine started counting down. 4:59, 4:58, 4:57. I spun around, sweeping the flashlight across the room, but the beam barely pushed back the dark. Shadows hunched and twisted in the corners, and that heavy dragging sound was getting closer. I needed to move. Now. The arcade screen flashed an arrow, pointing toward the hallway that led to the bathrooms and the back exit. I bolted, sneakers squeaking against the greasy tiles. The smell of rot and cold metal filled the air stronger now, clinging to my skin, to my clothes. I reached the hallway. 2 doors ahead, one marked restrooms, the other employees only. No sign of a way out. 4:31, 4:30, 4:29. The arcade machine gave another chirp, almost gleeful, and new text appeared across my mind's eye, as if it was being injected straight into my brain. Choose wisely. Something heavy slammed into the dining room behind me, the sound of a table snapping, chairs scattering like matchsticks. No time to think. I shoved open the employees-only door. Inside was a narrow, dusty corridor lined with old uniforms, a broom closet, and a stairwell leading down. The smell down there was worse. Wet concrete and something metallic, like rust. Or blood. 4 o'clock, 3:59. 3:58. I hesitated for half a second at the top of the stairs. Then, the dragging noise reached the hallway behind me, accompanied by the sound of something massive snuffling the air, breathing me in. I charged down the stairs. Each step creaked under my weight. The flashlight flickered, threatening to go out completely. At the bottom of the stairs, another heavy door. This one with a sliding bolt on my side. I yanked it open and stumbled through, and immediately gagged. This wasn't some forgotten employee locker room. It was a holding cell. Steel cages lined the walls, each barely big enough for a person to crouch inside. Some were empty. Others. I don't even want to describe what was in the others. It wasn't right. Twisted shapes. Limbs too long, faces melted like wax figures left out in the sun. Some shifted and whimpered as I passed, like they recognized me. And at the far end of the room, a second arcade machine glowed. This one was different, newer, sleeker. And its screen flashed another message. Final level, make your choice. Underneath that, 2 buttons. Release. Replace. And right as I approached, the thing from upstairs, whatever it was, slammed into the stairwell door behind me with a deafening crash. Splinters rained down from the frame. 2:30, 2:29, 2:28. The timer was still ticking. I had to decide. But what the hell did it mean, release? Replace? Release what? Replace who? The cages rattled. One of the twisted figures, barely recognizable as human, pressed itself against the bars closest to me. And it whispered, It's your turn now. Just like we did. The twisted figure gripped the bars of its cage so tightly that the metal groaned. Up close, it looked almost familiar, like a distorted reflection of a face I might have seen once. Maybe even recently. I stumbled back from the cage, bumping into the control panel in front of the second arcade machine. 2 choices still flashed on the screen. Release. Replace. The timer kept grinding down. 1:59, 1:58, 1:57. Above me, the stairwell door gave another sickening crunch. Whatever was chasing me was almost through. I gripped the edge of the arcade console hard enough to hurt, mind racing. Release could mean setting these things free. Maybe they'd help me. Maybe they were prisoners like me. But replace? The figure in the cage hissed through cracked lips, its voice sticky and wet. You can't win. No one wins. Only trades. A thought, sick and sharp, clicked into place. This wasn't a survival game. It was a recruitment system. Someone had to stay behind. In a cage. Twisted. Changed. Or else the place couldn't keep running. And if I didn't pick, I'd probably join the inventory, automatically. 130, 129, 128. I stared at the buttons, heart in my throat. Then I did something I'm still not sure was brave or just stupid. I slammed my fist onto release. The arcade screen went black instantly. Every lock on every cage popped open with a sharp clack. And the things inside, they smiled. I backed away slowly as they crawled, lurched, and staggered out of their cells, filling the room with wet, slapping footsteps and low, eager moans. The twisted figure who had spoken to me smiled wider, too wide, teeth sharp like broken glass. And in that moment I realized I hadn't freed prisoners. I had freed the replacements. For the first time since entering Giovanni's, I heard something new. A deep, mechanical voice, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. Player 2 has released the house. Round reset. Good luck. And above me, the stairwell door exploded inward. Something massive, hulking, with too many limbs and a shrieking, grinding laugh, came pouring down the steps, straight at me. But the twisted things from the cages? They didn't attack me. They rushed past me, straight for the monster. And for a second, just a second, I thought I was safe. Until the arcade screen blinked back to life, displaying one final message. Congratulations. You are now Giovanni's newest employee. Shift permanent. Uniform provided. Benefits none. The screen went dark again. And around me, the freed monsters began to straighten. Their bodies twitching, snapping, realigning into new, cleaner shapes. Faces smoothing out. Aprons materializing around their waists. And their hollow eyes? They all turned to look at me, smiling. I backed away, hands raised instinctively, heart slamming against my ribs. The freed things, no, the employees now, advanced toward me in a slow, deliberate circle. Aprons crisp. Uniforms neat. Smiles fixed and wide, like mannequins in a demented storefront window. The leader, the one who had whispered to me in the cage, stepped forward, brushing non-existent dust from his now pristine uniform. His voice was smoother now, friendly. Corporate. Welcome to the team, he said. Let's get you oriented. Before I could react, 2 of them grabbed me by the arms. Their grip was like steel wrapped in clammy skin, unbreakable. They hauled me across the basement floor toward a side wall I hadn't noticed before. A plain metal door, painted with the words, New Higher Processing. The leader opened it with a jaunty flourish. Inside was a small, blindingly white room with a single chair bolted to the floor. Next to it, a battered old TV-VCR combo sat on a rolling cart, the screen statusy and flickering. I dug my heels in, struggling, but it was useless. They threw me into the chair, hard, and strapped me down with cracked leather restraints. The TV clicked on by itself. A cartoon pizza mascot filled the screen, dancing stupidly across a grainy background. A cheerful, sing-song voice warbled out. Hi there, future family member. At Giovanni's, we believe in loyalty, service, and community. And once you're part of the team, The cartoon pizza smiled wide enough to split its own face in half. "You never, ever leave!" A grinding noise filled the room, growing louder and louder. I thrashed against the straps, shouting, cursing, begging, but the employees just stood silently, watching, heads cocked like curious dogs. From the corner of the room, a machine rolled forward on rusty tracks. A mechanical arm extended from its side, holding a gleaming metal brand. The tip glowed red-hot. "Branded for life" was etched into the iron. I screamed, but it didn't matter. The last thing I felt was the searing pain as the brand touched my forearm, and the smell of my own flesh burning. The world snapped white, and then black. When I woke up, I was back upstairs, behind the counter, dressed in a crisp Giovanni's Pizzeria uniform, name tag gleaming. Customers were flooding into the restaurant, families, couples, teenagers. Normal. Bright. Loud. The pizzeria looked completely different now, lights sparkling, ovens roaring, laughter echoing through the dining room. I blinked, dazed, heart pounding, still smelling the phantom burn of the brand. Someone tapped the counter in front of me. A smiling customer, holding out cash. "1 pepperoni, please," they said. Without thinking, like my body wasn't even mine. I smiled back. Wide. Too wide. And behind my eyes, in the places no one could see, I screamed. Days passed. Maybe weeks. It was hard to tell anymore. Time at Giovanni's didn't feel right. The clocks on the walls would spin wildly sometimes, hands ticking backward. The sun outside the grimy windows seemed stuck in a constant grayish dusk. Customers kept coming. Laughing. Smiling. Eating. And I kept serving. I didn't want to, but my body moved without permission, plastering on that wide, hollow grin, handing over greasy boxes of pizza with mechanical cheer. Behind the counter, the other employees worked their stations. A woman with a twisted jaw taking orders. A guy missing half his fingers working the ovens. A manager with empty eye sockets counting money at the register. No one, not a single customer, ever seemed to notice. They acted like everything was perfectly normal. Only at night, after closing time, did the cracks show. When the last family would leave, and the neon closed sign would buzz to life, we'd lock the doors. The fluorescent lights would flicker and die. And that's when the real work began. Shadows would crawl out from under the tables. Figures would drag themselves from the walk-in freezer, slick with frost. And we, the employees, would clean. But not tables, not ovens. We cleaned evidence. The walls would sprout claw marks. Blood would bead and drip from the ceiling tiles. Sometimes a whole booth would be overturned and stained with something dark and sticky that smelled like copper and decay. No one spoke during those hours. Only the endless scrubbing. The endless whispers leaking from the shadows. Trade places. Bring a new hire. Set yourself free. It didn't take me long to realize. The only way out was replacement. Someone new. Someone willing, or tricked, into signing on for a night shift at Giovanni's. And I'd have to be the one to do it. Me. They didn't say it outright. They didn't have to. It was the rule. The unspoken agreement baked into the bricks of the building. Find someone desperate enough. Lonely enough. Stupid enough. Offer them a too-good-to-be-true paycheck. Smile wide. Hand them the keys. Just like Tony had done to me. I spent endless nights rehearsing it in my head. How I'd do it. How I'd sell the lie. Because you can't just drag someone into Giovanni's. They have to say yes. They have to agree. That's part of the binding. Part of the deal. For weeks, I said nothing to anyone. Until one night a guy walked in. Mid-20s, hunched shoulders, cheap jacket, eyes hollow with the kind of exhaustion I recognized immediately. The kind that comes from getting knocked around by life too many times. He sat at the counter, nursing a cup of burnt coffee long after the dinner rush died down. Something in me clicked. I knew. He was the one. We struck up small talk. Turns out he was between jobs. Bills piling up. No family nearby. No one to miss him. Perfect. I put on my best, friendly coworker smile, the one I had once thought was real. Told him about a night security opening. Easy hours. Good pay. Quiet place. I slid a battered Giovanni's application across the counter toward him. The paper felt heavy in my hand, like it knew what it carried. He hesitated. Pen hovering above the signature line. Please, I thought, stomach twisted into knots. Please say yes. And just as the old neon, closed, sign buzzed to life behind him, he scrawled his name at the bottom. Signed it. I felt the binding snap into place. A low, satisfying click behind my ribs. The restaurant seemed to sigh around us. Lights brightening. Walls relaxing. I congratulated him, told him he'd start tomorrow night. Handed him a ring of cold, jangling keys that hadn't been worn in years. We shook hands. And when I looked into his eyes for a brief moment, I saw a flicker of confusion. Maybe he felt it too. Maybe somewhere deep down, some part of him realized the trap had already closed. But it didn't matter. The deal was made. That's why I'm here now. Sitting in the security office, telling you this. Writing it all down before my shift ends for the last time. Because when the sun rises in a few hours, I won't be here anymore. Not in the way you think. I'll be free. Free to walk out those doors. Free to forget Giovanni's ever existed, if I'm lucky. And he? The new guy? He'll be sitting right here. In this chair. Watching camera 3. Hearing the first creak of the kitchen door swinging open at 2:47 a.m. Wondering, just like I once did, if he's really alone. And by the time he figures it out, it'll be too late. Just like it was for me.